Hey guys, how's it going? Ghosty Rich here today, and today we are going to be working on this brand new Mustang. What we're going to have to do though is we're going to have to jack it up, and since it's lowered, we're going to have to make sure that we lift it up a little higher for the jack. Go ahead and start it. So what you're going to want to do, put a piece of wood just like so, and then we're going to go to the other side. Put another piece of wood just like so. Then go ahead and roll up. A little more. A little more. There. Oh. Back up. Back it up a little more. And there. Perfect. And then from there, now we can get our jack underneath onto a good jacking point and go from there. It's always good to have a couple pieces of wood. If you're going underneath your car, jack up, you're gonna see these openings in here, and what these are for is they're to expose the seam, so that way you don't actually put pressure on the lip, otherwise you'll pop your lip off, which you don't want to do. So as you're lifting it, make sure if you're using a scissor jack, which I don't suggest, you can do that, but see how it is not putting any pressure on that lip. Now you know this won't pop off. Get your jack stand ready. So again, if you take a look here, it's on there, and this is lined up here. Give yourself some room, at least one, if not two. I might give it a couple more pumps, but at least I got it under here now, just in case the jack fails. So we've got it one up. I want 2 notches. 2 notches just gives you a little bit more breathing room. Make sure, out of all things, that if you have a standard, that you have the parking brake on, because if this rolls on you, you're gonna really hate life. So once that's got the parking brake on, next thing we're gonna do is insert Kyle. Kyle owns his own channel. His is right there. I'm also gonna tag it. But it's all about this car. You wanna see how he did the exhaust? Go there. There's also a lot of other little funky upgrades. List some.
Well, we got the window tint, that's what we did first.
Nice.
The exhaust, I didn't actually do a video of it because I wasn't big into the YouTube yet. But it's the AWE catback. We did Steeda lowering springs. It's just the Progressive Sports, that's it. We didn't need the camber plates or anything. I got it aligned, it was all good. And we got the catch can on here. That's sitting up here. We'll open that up later once we get going with the oil change, see if there's anything in it. I got the engine cover off. We also did the, what's it called? The sound tube delete, because it just looked ugly. You can see the little cap here. Perfect. And then if you watch the video on my channel, it goes down. It's hard to see, but there's a plug in the firewall as well.
I remember with VW they did the same thing.
Yeah.
At one point, yeah.
For me, it was just an eyesore.
Yeah.
And we blacked out the emblems. It's just plastied it, but that's like 4 or 5 months old already. It's holding up really good.
Perfect.
Hood struts was one of the first things I did. So we got rid of the prop rod.
Yeah, that's way better. I don't know why they wouldn't just put them in at this point.
I know I think it's the GT500 has one here.
Oh.
But I think it looks kind of funny there, but still,
yeah,
it's better than the prop rod. So.
Fun for that battery area. Perfect. And so the piece that we're also putting in today is this bad boy. There's this is a billet one. Apparently there is a plastic one down there we're gonna run into, so we're gonna go check that out. So let's get down under the vehicle and take a look at what we're dealing with. So I'm used to having to change the Jeep's oil and the car's oil, and usually we use something like that because that'll do. But apparently we're gonna need a pretty big bucket for this one because we got 10 quarts. This should be great. Let's go take a look. Let's get underneath. All right, so this is your tire. If you go down to your front tire, follow, you'll see this little metal plate, this one. And you're gonna loosen that little 7 mil and pop this plate out of the way. The reason why is your oil filter is right above this. All right, let's go farther back. We have our plug. So we're gonna have to pull our plug out. Now the thing is with pulling this oil plug, it's a lot different than what you're used to. You don't actually use a nut and socket. There's a procedure to it, and I'll show you in a sec. So when you're taking this off, thing is, it's gonna be real hard for me to show you. You have to turn it. And when you turn it, it comes down like this.
You want to put the bucket back.
Back further? Okay. And then I just turned it. Is that right where it's going to be? And then you just pull it out?
Yeah, you'll just keep turning and it pops out. It's like unscrewing.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you just do that. I'm going to go get a glove on because this has been driving for a little bit, and if it touches my skin, I'll probably scream Hail Mary. So after it gets to this point, see there's a ridge here? Well, this just rode over the ridge and it pops out. Now it just so happens that Kyle here has had this happen before where it's caught and you went to move it and it broke the plastic tab. So that's why we're switching to metal. One thing I'll warn you is how I just did this without gloves. If you did this and any heat transferred through the plug and it is pretty warm, you might cry Hail Mary. So you'll want to put your glove on before you do this. So now that I've gotten to this point, I'm gonna just pop it over and continue. But again, this plastic nub right here might catch on this lip. Ready? Perfect. Thank gosh we got clean flow rags. Just let it drain, that's it.
That's it. The only thing is we can't see in the bucket.
Nope. So you can see here, this one's just a hollow one. And you can see we have one of these broken tabs because last time we did an oil change, the tab broke. And he was worried because the next time this one could let go. Again, that's why we have this one. You'll be able to get in there with a pick or whatnot and get it to separate a little easier. And you can also morph it back easier. Completely up to you. One thing I will suggest you do is whether it's old oil or new oil, you'll see a gasket here. Get this all nice and wet. And the reason why is it just helps O-rings slip in better and doesn't allow it to catch and put a hole in your O-ring. That's the last thing you want. You also have an upgraded magnet on here. What this magnet allows you to do is if any metal ends up in the pan, hopefully not, but if it does, it'll cling to this magnet rather than sitting in the pan. So we can leave that off to the side and let's get a 7mm, get that oil filter out. The 7mm, like I said, crack it loose with your ratchet if you want. Then if you want, put a screwdriver on it, pull that screw out. I left way more threads than I thought I did. Let's see, I might even just tighten it in, you know. Do it with your hand too. Holy smokes, this is something structural at this point. How many screws do you need to hold in an oil filter cover? One, but super, super long. All right, look at that, our oil's almost done. Look at that. So this is just a flap. You can fling it down. And then now you can get in there with a glove or an oil filter wrench. I'll leave it up to you. A lot of times these are just hand tight. So go ahead and grab it with a glove. So this is why I put a separate pan here. As soon as I crack that oil filter, if you give it a second, you'll watch it start pouring again. Remember I was just dripping, now it's pouring. It's because I broke the pressure release in here. And as soon as I did that, that broke the pressure there. So now it's draining more oil. And if we give it a second, it won't end up dripping down our arms. See how it's dripping right now? That's the last thing you want. So just give it a second and then pull the filter out the rest of the way. You can see that gasket on there on the new one. Take some old oil or new, whatever you want to do, and literally just lube that up. Throw a little bit on the threads if you want. The thread should be fine. And when you go to screw it back on, you want to back turn it and then turn it. What that allows is for it to find the start of the thread, and then once you go, it'll start onto it. And again, this one is just on a bit of an angle, so you gotta find that angle. Again, back turn, and then you just screw it on. Might be harder to back turn this one just because of it and its position. Oh, I think I got it. Perfect. And just basically, these should go on smooth as butter. Seriously, do not try by any means to like you'll know if it's cross-threading. There's just no way they should have anything on them. I'm just going to take my glove off because it's covered in oil, and then grab a clean flow rag and wipe off the filter, and then just tighten it up. And remember, never use a filter wrench. You don't need it for putting it on. You're literally just going to use your hand and monkey grip it on. We're almost there. You're not going to snap it by hand, I guarantee you. So go as hard as you want. And it's a lot more fun when you're on the ground. There you go. Wipe it up. And then from this point, if this is done and that is done, put your new plug in. Let's go see how it clicks in, just to make sure. Like most aftermarket parts, we want to make sure it goes in nice and smooth. One more check. Yeah, we're good. I'm going to put that 7mm in so I don't lose the bolt. And we'll fire this back up once we get to the point of putting the plug in. New metal plug. Just find it by slowly trying to screw it in, and it'll find it, and then just turn it, and you'll feel those two metal tabs seated in, and it just clipped around that piece right there. I'm going to make sure it sits nice and tight here. Then I'll pull the bucket out, and I think we're good now. Kind of just floats in here. Make sure these are nice and crimped in. Try and turn it over. Nope, won't go. Well, what's good is it's thin metal, so you'll be able to grab it and unspool it. Pretty good for, I guess, track road or track changes. So if you're like at a track all day, and you want to keep the oil kind of fresh, you can do an oil change on the fly. Literally just put if you have one of those high center jack stands where you put it under this pan right here, whip it underneath, and then it lifts, you could totally just quickly do an oil change on here. It doesn't help with the lowering, but she's still good. Now that we're down here, let's go up top. Rather than trying to muscle this around in here, I'm going to recommend we just pop that tab, and then that slips out, and then pop this tab, same way, slip that out, lift that whole mechanism out, and then voila, you have it right here. Now you can unscrew it by actually holding on to it. Don't have to grind your knuckles up. And like I said, we'll just pour the remainder into here. Let's see what it looks like on the inside of this one. I know the inside of my GTIs is just crazy looking. Well, that's not even that bad.
A little bit in the bottom there.
Perfect. And how many kilometers is that worth?
I think it was about 4,000.
4,000. Perfect. So that's 4,000 worth. There's not really that much in there, but still you're probably at about, I don't know, 2 out of 10 out of the can. So from there, that's a good thing to meter off of, and that's in the winter time, or well, springy winter. So we're just gonna pour that out. And there, as you can see, catch can screwed back on, and then just how you removed it, you're just gonna slide those two hoses back on. And then right there, you're gonna slide that hose back on, and you're done. They're just quick release hoses, and it just sits just like that. Super easy install for a catch can, and also for cleaning it out. Now that we put the catch can back on, we're gonna drop the car. So let's lift the jack back up, take out that jack stand, take out that jack stand, and then we can start filling this thing up with 10 quarts of oil. Holy smokes. At this point, add the first 5 liters because we know there's 10, so you might as well at least get 5 in there. Get the 5 in there, and then we can monitor the dipstick every quart and stuff like that. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to get it, like I said, the middle of the dipstick. Then we're going to start the car. We're going to back it off the 2x4s. And then the oil filter will have adjusted. Then we can also adjust for the level difference with the wood underneath. And then we'll just add accordingly. But let's get it halfway up that dipstick, or even a little higher than halfway. Doesn't matter, because once you start it, it's going to drop. Remember, it's always better to underfill than overfill. So if you're going to do anything, make sure it's under that second bubble or the second line. If you look real close, it might not focus in, but it is currently halfway up the dipstick. So, actually, sorry, it's not halfway up the dipstick. It's completely from hole to hole. So what we're gonna do now is start the car, back it up, and that's at 9 quarts. So you could stop at 9 quarts, and then you're gonna start your car, roll it off your 2x4s if you don't have a low profile jack, but if you're not jacked down, then you won't have to worry about it anyway. So once you get it at this point, roll your car back, get it started, turn it off after like 30-40 seconds, check your oil level, and add accordingly. Both jugs equal right up to the other bubble, and if you want it halfway up your dipstick, because some people are just like that, it's 9.5 quarts. That's what I found anyway. We just filled it up, put all 10 in, we're gonna seal it up, and that is it. Thanks again for Kyle for coming out and letting us do that. And yeah, who knows? Stay tuned, go to his channel once again. You never know what kind of other mods he's going to do and that he's already done. And again, I'm gonna link him in the description below. Definitely go check it out. Really cool, and he's a local guy. He's a good Canadian kid, as Cherry would say. All right, that's all there is to it. Thanks again for watching. Press a like if it helped you out and subscribe for more.